Good afternoon, everyone. So excited to have all of you joining us today. I'm Kathleen Black, if we have not had the chance to meet before. And today we are talking about a really big shift. We are talking about the shift into higher conversion rates specifically. So we are talking about a data-driven triumph because we're not talking about potential here or speculation. We're talking about data on the specific tools and systems that we know across thousands and thousands of agents are proven to increase and improve your performance, but not just your performance, in sales, your ability to communicate, your ability to resonate with people who may want to work with you. So those things are very, very important in this present economy. And I am in the business of helping people shift, whether that's personally, professionally, energetically, as a parent, as a leader. Shift is really important. And the bigger shift that you want to have in your life or your business or in a specific part of your personal or professional life, the more important it is to have not just the right tools and the clarity, but also to have the connection and resources and mentorship that we need in order to achieve those things. Because we know data-driven wise, our success is highly correlated with who we spend time with and who's advising us and what they're thinking and what their mentalities are. So today is my chance to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what we do with Kathleen Black Coaching. I've been coaching full-time now for 15 years. I have over 25,000 hours one-on-one coaching the top leaders, iconic brands. I've been coaching team-specific real estate expansion before any of the major major platforms had a team coaching product. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have a lot of documented results, and I want to share that with you today. So I want to ask you and have you start, and make sure you have a pen and paper because there's some things you're going to want to jot down as we go. But the first thing I want to ask you to write down is, what is the most important shift you are committing to create for 2024? What does your business need? What does your personal life need? What are you called to? What are those big shifts that you're actually called to going into the new year? And it might be, complement to the shifts that you've already made coming out of 2023. So I'll ask you to put in chat, what is the number one most important, biggest shift you're looking to make in 2024? Let's start out with that, with a little bit of intention. If you need to come in and take a deep breath and just sigh, get into the room, get into the place where we can, connect with where we're going in 2024. Thank you. Shauna says growth. Okay. And if you're writing it for yourself, Shauna, sharing with us, you're welcome to as well. But I get really specific. What type of growth are you looking to shift? What type of growth are you looking to have? Frank is saying digital presence. It's really important to know where we want to go. So business growth, for example, if we set a goal to double our gross commission earnings, I would say that's actually a byproduct. The goal would be first to find clarity on the areas of the business that need tools, resources, maybe accountability or coaching in order to increase them so that you reach that business growth as a byproduct. But the goal is actually, what tools do we need? What systems? What mentality? What habits do we need? How do we need to show up and take action? Those would be the specific areas of goal. And Kim O'Grady is saying time management, so I can leverage, and hi Kim, good to have you here. So I can leverage my time efficiently and effectively. Yeah, and time management is hard, right? I'm a big believer in harmony, and we can't have harmony unless we know ourselves really, really well. We know what's important to us and where we want to invest our resources, our money, our focus, our time, and then we can create a harmony around that. Management of time is hard because we have different priorities. And Rachel's saying automation, which is fantastic. So specifics there. Okay, so I hope you have written down for yourself exactly the shift that you're looking to have in your personal or professional lives. I want all of you to know quickly that I definitely, if you're not aware, I definitely sold real estate. I'm still actually a licensed realtor. I just did finished my continuing education update this last weekend. And, I shared how proud I am to be a licensed realtor and how proud I am in the current economy to work with people who have productive, efficient, and profitable businesses. You know, sometimes when we have an economic shift and we see the shift in sales that we've been having largely across North America, not everywhere, but largely, we've seen a shift in the number of transactions, obviously in the number of buyers who are able to purchase. We've seen shifts in our average sale prices, all sorts of things. And I think it's important to remember that, you know, if we have issues in our business, sometimes we look for, you know, the quick answers, right? So if our model doesn't work or our marketing isn't working to bring it into active clients, we look for easy ways to fix things. But if we don't fix the core pieces of the business, right? The way we bring in opportunities, the way we talk to those people, the way we support them and service those people, if our actual foundation of our business is still broken, we can make these little changes, but end of the day, we're still left with that broken business foundation. It's like that old saying, you can pour as much water as you want into a leaking bucket. It's still going to continue to leak the bucket. So when I was younger, I really felt like this, you know, Wonder Woman, I could take on the world, get everything done. And, you know, I come from leaving home young. There's a documentary about my life story for a reason. And there was a lot of adversity and difficulty to overcome. So eventually I got through university, then as a single mom, and I'd left home around 15. And finally I met my ex-husband and we started to purchase investment properties. So we built our portfolio sweat equity, and there was a lot of pressure to get into real estate. And I had 2 kids under 5. I was doing the cooking, the cleaning, the property management, all sorts of renovations, all sorts of things, and I didn't want to. So eventually that pressure to get into real estate increased. And my husband said, listen, like, you're micromanaging the real estate agent. You really need to get in there and do this because you're assessing all the numbers. You're doing like what conditions you want and prices, and you know exactly what cap rate and your formula is. Like, it really would be great if you get licensed to add to our portfolio. So I did get licensed. Now they called myself and my husband at the time the no money miracle. This was the time of interest only mortgages and no down payments and all sorts of interesting things. And we know where that led to, right? With the US financial collapse around that time long ago. So we were busy building our portfolio. I got into real estate. We were doing a bunch of renovations, and the pressure of all of that just was not great on my marriage. And I work with a lot of very powerful female leaders, right? Entrepreneurs. And it's not that uncommon for women that as you get more successful, sometimes you can find out it's not a great dynamic, you know, in your personal life because of it, unfortunately. So I went into the start of what would be a very expensive and costly and messy divorce. And I had to make a decision because up until then in my life, I kind of could figure it out, you know, like I could figure out time management, as Kim said, and, you know, put my son to bed at a certain time and bath time and books and study as a university student at night. I could bring in exchange students for room and board and make extra money. I found all sorts of ways to leverage as a young person. And all of a sudden I was brand new in real estate. I was just finishing my training and I had to make some decisions. And I think most of us in real estate have been in this position. And I'm talking about a little bit extra today because statistically, a lot of realtors are in this position now, where we are in front of a fork in the road and we have to figure it out. You know, do we go right and we go into a more secure job? Do we leave the industry? Do we take on part-time work? This is happening right now, you know, and I was faced with that. Do I go into a dental office job and fixed hours and be home when my kids are home and have a fixed secure income? However, my future didn't look very bright, and my ability to navigate my path and have resources to feel autonomous or have sovereignty as a leader didn't look so great if I took that path. Now on the left, I had the option to lean all the way into one of the most competitive industries that exists, which is real estate, particularly if you're in the Toronto area, which is the world's largest real estate board. It's massive. And the number of agents and competition we have here is more than in Manhattan when it comes to number of competing realtors. And so do I look left? Do I go all in into real estate? And I was really torn. Now, I did end up, obviously, that's how I'm here, to go into real estate and give it all I've got. Now, I went with certain principles. One of those is model the best, forget the rest. It's still one of my principles behind this company today. And one of my other principles was consultant's approach. So I leaned in with everything I had, trying to get a roof over my children's head and feed them. And, I always say make time to clean up, cook the food and clean up after, which is a whole other thing. And I situated my life to try to get some structure and some stability. And what I found by leaning into real estate the way I did was that I never set a goal to be any particular ranking. When I got into real estate, I just really wanted to make some money and do okay. So I certainly didn't set out to be top 1% in real estate. But at the end of that first year with two kids under 5, and they literally were in tow. Like sometimes they were coming in with me for duty time. They had to come on showings, or, their dad didn't pick them up, whatever. And we had all sorts of things going on. My life was very chaotic at that time. So at the end of that first year, leaning in, investing in myself, learning the systems and tools, the science of this business, I sold 44 homes in one of the most chaotic years of my entire life. Now, again, I didn't look back and I didn't look forward and say, I want to be top 1% in the world's largest real estate board. But based on my production, in fact, that's what I achieved. Now, my sales continued to grow year after year, and that's when I got into coaching. So I got into coaching, and I wasn't coaching, brand new realtors. I was coaching the top producers in our industry who were looking for a better way. We were coaching people. Our team was coaching like Mark Ferris. I was coaching Rob Golfi, right? Names that we know. I mean, our team's coaching Amy Flowers and Melissa and Chuck Charlton. These are people I always have dear in my heart because they were part of those early days. And we're setting up, how do you train your people and track, and how do you pay agents and all that kind of stuff. So what I found was that the more I did this coaching and my coaching grew and my sales grew, what I found was that for most people, successful people, the more successful they got, the less successful they felt because it just got so chaotic. So what we did was actually look at a way to help them structure their resources, their time, their systems to not only be more successful, but to feel more successful, and not just for themselves, but for everyone they worked with too. So today we use the systems, the tools, the resources that we have helped thousands and thousands of businesses to ramp up individual agents as well as those expanding and teams. So we're most well known in the team space because 80% of our clients are top 1% nationally. They reach that with coaching. And 80% of our new clients get a 10x return on their coaching investment, because that's what it is, within 18 months, which is something we're really proud of. So today, all of this work has led to some resources. You're going to hear me talk about Top 1% Life in a little bit. If you need some resources on how to expand your business and shift your mindset, that's a great book for you. The Relentless to Rise is for personal mentality expansion. And that led to the documentary based on the story of my life that now we have 2 Emmy nominations. We won 3 Tellys, like 19 awards. So it's pretty cool. And what I keep saying right now, because people are worried, in the economy and worried what's happening, so much is available for us. And it's a matter of 2 things. Well, maybe 3, but it's a matter of where is our mindset with our energy and our heart, and where are our systems and our tools. There's 2 parts of your business that have to always be aligned. One of them is the engine and one of them is the fuel. Your personality, your energy, your vision, right? Your determination, your willpower, all of that is the fuel. And you can work as hard as you want. And I've seen it. I've seen realtors work so hard day in and day out, but they don't have the right engine. And they're afraid to invest in the engine repairs, or they need to trade in that car. Let's just be honest, right? They don't have the right tools. So we're in an industry where you can get average tools all over the place, and that's okay. But I'm here to tell you that in my first year in real estate, when I was desperate, when I was scared, when I had 2 little kids and mounting legal bills, and I was going to lose my personal house, which in fact I did because my name wasn't on title, and I'm trying to build this real estate, empire for myself and my family, I couldn't afford the cost of average tools. I couldn't afford that. And there's no way I would have sold the number of homes I did in that year with the wrong engine and the wrong car. So today, what I'm going to do is share with you my passion for helping people do two things. More today, we're going to talk about the engine, but my biggest passion is actually the fuel, because that's the heart and the spirit and the energy. And we are so capable when we are empowered. So I hope you're doing your vision, values, life's goal setting, right? Life planning at this time of year. So we're back to what's the most important shift you need to make? Do you need to make a shift more in your engine? Do you need to make a shift more in your fuel? Do you need to do both? Because the wrong engine without fuel is still not going to go anywhere, and all the fuel in the world is not going to take you where you need to go with a broken down car, right? So we need both things. So I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to put it in chat and write it down, please, for yourself, because when we write it down, we process differently. What would it mean in your life and business if your conversion rates were 70% higher? And that number isn't by accident. You guys know it's part of the title of our coaching session together today. So what would it mean in your life and your business if your conversion rates were 70% higher? And if that was available for you, how much have you lost not having those tools in that engine up until today? So what would it mean for you? Throw it in chat. I just want to see for you guys right now. What would 70% higher conversion rate mean for you? I think you'd be able to automate more, Rachel, that's for sure. Freedom on many aspects of my life. Shauna, yeah, absolutely. Feel a sense of ease and less worry, Kim. Yeah, for sure. We can do more with less, right? Some people are like, hey, in a hard economy, just double down on relationships. And I'm like, yeah, thank goodness we have the right systems and tools so we have more time for relationships, right? Thank goodness we have the CRMs and the automation, because the worst thing in this industry is not knowing that if you don't have those things, you have a fraction of the time for the face-to-face relationships of those who are trying to build their relationships all the time, but they're trying to do everything else in their business as well. So yeah, we'd feel a sense of ease. We'd have less worry, 100%. So a big piece that we do is we work with the 30-30-30 method. Now, why do we work with this? Because here's what I'm faced with every day, okay? So I'm faced with top national teams saying, Kathleen, I'm going to invest 20,000, 80,000, 200,000 in lead generation or marketing or a combination of creating next year. Now, how am I going to bring in agents into our brokerage or into our team and know that investing in my marketing that's going to support these people is actually going to have a return? Now, I'm also faced with solopreneurs saying, Kathleen, my marketing budget next year is like 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. I need that to have a return on investment. What do I need to do? So this is where the 30-30-30 method comes in, because the traditional agent, I'm not going to tell you yet how long, but it takes years to actually get the data we need. And in the high performance space, which is where I live and I work, I need that data very, very quickly. So I'm about to tell you what you need, how long it will take you, and how I get the equivalent 80% of data we need within 6 weeks and the remaining 20% within 6 months. That takes the average agent, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to say minimum several years. I'm going to give you that hint, okay? So the 30-30-30 method is not just data for data's sake, okay? The 30-30-30 method is a story. It's getting the data and knowing how to look at it and understanding the story it's going to tell you. So this is a year of data. This is a year of data-driven strategy. It's a year of investment, not cost. This is not a time for research and development and testing things that are going to cost you a lot of money. This is not the season for that, for sure. This is the time to say what works and double, triple down, not just on using what works, but on making it better. And those are two different things. I think we forget that sometimes. It's one thing to make what works better. It's another thing to double down on it, okay? So the 30-30-30 method is the first 30 leads, the first 30 in-person meetings, And finally, the first 30 closed appointments. Now, some of you might have heard this part of what we do, but we're going to add on to it by quite a bit today. So the first 30 leads, obvious things we need to know, right? Where did the lead come from? What is the source of business for the lead? Is it high quality, low quality? Are they 3 years out? Or are they 6 months out? Okay. And do they meet the criteria of your dream client? So we need to have an understanding of those leads. The first 30 appointments, well, how many leads did it take us to book that appointment? Did it take us 29 leads from one source to book one appointment, but only one lead from another to book one appointment, right? Is your conversion rate improving? Is it stagnating? Is it declining? And was the original lead warm, cold, or from a COI? And did they sign on? Did they choose you? And if you are in Ontario, this is a big conversation right now, right? TRESA is in play. And it's going to be much more public knowledge that people can be self-represented, or obviously they can have, designated brokerage, all that kind of fun stuff. But the fact is that the public will be more aware of those options. So more than ever, we need to make sure our community is making sure that we actually have people in a place where, hey, we're going to work for clients, we're going to represent them, we're going to put our time and energy, and they may or may not buy a house. Fair is fair. But if they buy a house, we want to make sure that literally as early as possible, we're giving value for them to want to hire us, right? And sign a buyer representation agreement. So that's an important question for us across the country. For those of us coming into TRESA who maybe didn't look at it this way before, it's 10 times more valuable for you right now. And I'll give you an interesting fact because, again, it's been 15 years for me. And when I say 25,000 hours, that doesn't include my coaching teams from either company. That's just me. So when I look at the actual data and tracking and stats of high performers, low performers, I look at all the averages. It takes the average agent within our community, so most of them are already high performers, 4 times more leads to reach their goals if they do not have a strong professional consultation method of having clients wanting to hire them. Right? So we can run around after all the different opportunities, or we can hone in on a way that we can manage our time effectively, and we can have people who want to choose to work with us in the same way they think about a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, etc., those kind of fiduciary duties. So 30 leads, 30 appointments, and then we have 30 deals. How long did it take us to close the deal? Do other people in the brokerage have an average of like 15 showings per buyer and I have 50, right? What's going on here? How many hours went into the sales and how many failed offers went in before closing on the home? And will they refer you? Right? Are they happy with your services? So there's a story that interplays between this data. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand, some of you might be looking at this and saying, hey, I've been in the industry 15 years or 2 years or whatever. Maybe you already have some of that data. Some of you have all of that data. That's not what we're looking for. You need to start now so you actually can get all the pieces of it and look for the story the data is telling you about what's working and what's not. And that's going to take you a bit of time. So of course, I'm here, I run a coaching company. I want all of you to coach with us because our track record is second to none. And that's just a fact. Every 12 months, we publish our performance growth for our clients. So what if you could do it quicker with proven results? Okay, what if you had a Sherpa who's already summited the particular mountain you need to summit to be successful in 2024, who is going to walk with you? They have the playbook, they have the language, they have the tools, they have the opportunities, and they know how to help you create the opportunities for yourself. So I want to give you an example of one of our case studies. I'll show you a couple, 2 bigger, 2 quicker, okay? So Jody is working with us. She started to work with us in January just of this year. And she went from stuck in 3rd place for individual agents in her brokerage to thriving in 1st. And that was her goal, which you'll see in a minute. So we're going to talk about the problem, was that Jody was suffering from a lack of systems. I don't know if she might have known that. I'm not sure, but she knew she was struggling to find that work-life balance. That time management was really hard, and she couldn't figure out how to leverage or use her assistant to her full potential. She was stuck overworking, couldn't break through to that best performance to achieve number one in her brokerage, and that was a goal for her. It was important for her. So the solution, oops, there we go. The solution is that Jody started coaching with us again January, almost a year next month. And she actually took on time audits and she did them. She completed them to make space for her personal life. She did a strategy to reduce the unit volume while increasing her gross commission income to get her to her goal with greater capacity. And she put effective systems in place for her admin to enable her to delegate. Okay, so she used our systems to put that in place. Now, what was the solution for Jody, or the results, was that in 4 months, she had broken through to become number one sales agent in her brokerage. Within 8 months, her particular goal was 300K GCI. And she did it with 15 less overall units that she had to deal with compared to the year before. And she finally had the chance to enjoy multiple family vacations over the summer and even had the chance and time and money to renovate her home. So this is the type of things that are possible when you put the right pillars in place. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit more at the end. But the first thing you want to do as a leader is know yourself. So to get 7 times better conversion and effectiveness, first you need to know what you're good at, which means you need a personality profile. You need to know your genius areas and you need to know how to lean into them because they're going to make you more money. And you also need to figure out how can you be less fearful of investing and leveraging in a way that's actually going to break you through to the next level. That's the very first thing that we do in coaching with our community. We get that vision and we help them understand their genius and their strengths and weaknesses of their personality. After that, we look at putting systems in place, just like we did with Jody. And then third, we refine them to ramp them up to get you that impact of the higher results, which is what everybody's looking for. They're looking for that refinement, but we have to implement it first. So what is your time worth to you? High performance is all about taking educated risks, managing, measuring data. So we want to ask you, what is it worth to you? How long do you think it takes the average agent to record the data and track 30 leads, 30 face-to-face appointments, and 30 closed deals? So we're talking about the average agent, okay? So throw it up in chat. How long do you think it would take for the first 30 leads? How long is that going to take us? What do you guys think? How long does it take you to create, not purchase them? Okay, so we're not talking about calling up the Google and I can name a whole bunch of companies that you guys can purchase 30 leads from in the next couple of days, but we're talking about actually creating those leads for an average agent who isn't investing their money, they're investing their time. Okay, Frank's saying 30 days, Kim's saying 6 months. Both are fair averages for an average producing agent. What about first 30 face-to-face appointments? Sitting in front of them, buyer consultation or listing consultation, or if you count it, the first showing. But how many first face-to-face appointments? Okay, Frank's saying 90 days to get 30 face-to-face appointments. All right, and what about 30 closed deals? Remember, we're talking about average agent here, not above or below, average. How long does it take us to close 30 deals? Just watching chat to see where you guys are putting this. Any guesses? Kim says a year. Okay. Because Kim does a lot of business. The high performers are always a little bit biased. We're talking about average agent. It would take years when average is 4 sales a year. Shauna, that's exactly right. So, you know, real estate ends up to be a really small pond or ocean when you're a top achiever. Like most people know the national top achievers because really like that top 1% is a small pool, but they're doing a mighty amount of business and often their view of average production is skewed. And that's a really good thing for them and the people who are in their ponds, right? Because we start to see that as normal and that helps us. However, for the average agent in the industry, it is going to take several years. Think about the TREB stats, right? Of how many deals an average agent is doing a year. It takes 5 to 7 years to collect this data, to even get the data, to know the story of what's working, what's not working. Think about right now when people are looking at their budgets and they're saying, okay, my broker's saying to cut expenses and cut costs. All right, I've got these 4 different marketing, like I send clients gifts, I do a client party. I'm buying those leads from Bold Leads or Agent Locator or REW, whatever, right? What do I cut? Like, I don't even know what's working. And they go to their deals, and if they're lucky, they have source of business for their deals. But I'm going to tell you, 90% of people, even really high achievers, when they start coaching, they don't know. They don't have it documented. So if you have some of that data, you're way ahead of things. But if you don't have that data, here's the problem. You're going to hear cut costs, you're going to hear get back to basics, and you're going to hear be consistent. And you're not going to know how to do any of those things properly without the data you need, unless you're plugging into a tried, tested, and true system. So we get really lost because we don't know which direction to go in. So you can definitely leave this webinar, and I'm going to give you some benchmarks and tools in a second, but you can leave this coaching webinar together and you can start tracking your 30 leads, 30 appointments, and 30 deals. And if you're not going to sign up for coaching, I recommend you do that 100%. But I'm going to tell you straight up, because I believe in being honest and transparent, the top people are not doing this. They are investing in order to get a return. That is what they're doing. They're not taking 5 to 7 years to figure out, if a new recruit is going to be a high performer. We work with brokerages and lots of teams and solopreneurs who invest to get a benchmark, to say, what is a minimum conversion? What does it look like for a buyer consultation or a listing consultation? What return should I even be getting? So when I go out there and I invest in like a virtual ISA, or I invest in a lead platform, or I invest in some new AI automation, I actually know what strong performance looks like, which most agents are really stuck on. So the top performers, they're not doing that. They're investing to get there. So let's talk about the pillars, the strategy of how we're getting there. And I'm adding a whole bunch of like really important performance pieces in here for you guys today, because I know, right? Some people are really scared in the market right now. Some people are pulling back and doing a lot of operations work and really going over their budgets and costs because they know what's working and what's not, right? So it just depends. The big people are getting organized because they are seeing now all the holes they had in the high market, and they want to fix them now. So they're strong now, but they're exponentially stronger later. So let's get into the strategy. The first pillar always that we want to look at is the pillar of vision. So vision is a couple things. It's where you want to go. It's what it looks like. It also gets into the values that you hold. What's important to you, what drives success with your brand. And we won't get into it as much today, but your vision actually also dictates your culture. So the goal is, let me say this differently. The goal is to have the vision so that you actually can nurture a high performance culture, which is what we all need. We're all a product of our ecosystem. So a big mistake we sometimes see is like, okay, we'll put these systems in place and we'll track it, and then we'll take away the accountability for those systems, or we'll work with somebody who doesn't understand them. It's just as important to maintain what you build and have support to maintain it as it is to have growth. Because you take away the consistency of what you do well now, that costs you sometimes much, much more than the potential growth you're trying to build. Okay. So your values, your vision is your personal and business values, your company's guiding principles, your dream outcome, and it's the alignment with who you are, right? And how you want to live with your business. Okay. So this is the part where we say, hey, we're at A and we want to get to B or Z or Z or however you say it. The second pillar that we're going to dive into a lot more now together is the pillar of performance. So you can bend time with mastery. That's one of the principles of a raft builder. And if you don't know what a raft builder is, go to YouTube. There's a free mini coaching series that you want to have there. I get paid a lot of money to share what a raft builder is on a main headline or a keynote. So go and get it at YouTube to support you. It's right on our YouTube channel. So pillar of performance is where we get into that engine portion of things, where we're tracking our results, our lead gen, the quality of our conversions. We're looking at our averages within the business. This is where we get real about workshopping and scripting and how do we handle objections and how do we say things. In this market, this is where a brokerage or a team or a coaching ecosystem becomes really valuable because we're hitting objections that we haven't had in the past several years. So coming in and knowing what to say and how to say it is a game changer for anybody trying to improve your performance because we're not seeing ourselves, right, when we're out there with clients. This is where we push through discomfort to develop competence in the areas that maybe create some fear or that we try to avoid, okay? So performance, high performance, it is not a chance thing. You know, some people are more wired to be a bit more disciplined or a bit more task oriented, or they really, really are wired for results. But even with them, it's not accidental that people move into a high performance business. It happens because they get guidance and they're very intentional about what they're trying to create. There's so much trying to rob us of our focus and attention. So what are the core things? If we were to do performance mapping here, and those of you who have a pen and paper, this is going to be a bit more valuable for you. So if you don't, you probably want to grab one. This is performance mapping that we're doing as our minimum. Okay. So when we're trying to help someone ramp up, when we guarantee, hey, within 6 months, we will get you a 30% increase in lead to face-to-face booked appointment, we're not doing that by chance. We've Sherpa'd that mountain and summited it thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of times, right? So that's not an accidental thing. The problem usually is being willing to follow your Sherpa. There's Sherpas around, we have to follow them. So what is the path that we look at to make sure we're getting to those minimum benchmarks for high performance at a high level? These are the ways that we get you that 7x increase on conversion, okay? So we're going to go through these 8 different spokes and I'm going to have you rate them out of 10. The first is, are you solution oriented? And I'm not going to get into the archetypes right now. I would love to because it's my passion in life, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is when you're talking to people or you are in coaching or mentorship or you're having a sounding board, are you solution focused? This is really important. If you are spending your time and energy right now, and you're going to hear this from anybody who's high performance based, if you're spending your time and energy focused on what you don't want, talking about what you don't want, or you're focused in talking about what you cannot control, that's your bullseye right now. And you've got to own that because no coach, no Sherpa, no broker, no leader can help you do anything if your bullseye is on what you don't want. Okay. Fear is very powerful. 98% of us are most driven by fear and challenge and avoidance, but we need to leverage that in our benefit. So if you're solution oriented, you're looking at what you want to achieve and you can be empowered because you don't want to touch the stuff you don't want to touch, like the fear or the loss or, you know, the failure or shame, all those deep, heavy emotions. We can use those things to push us even further towards what we want. However, if you're focused on what you don't want, you have a more stressful existence. Things are harder for you. It's harder to navigate your goals. So if at the start, you can have a vision of what you want and discipline yourself to be more solution oriented, you are going to have an easier time shifting your business and personal life. This is a fact. Average teams talk about what they know. We know because we go on coaching calls and we'll say, okay, let's give it a try. Let's workshop this. And they'll say, oh no, we already know. Oh no, we already role play with somebody else. We're like, okay, red flag, right? Red flag. High performers move into doing, practicing, role playing, whether it's as a team leader, as a solo agent, as a broker owner, a brand leader, whatever it is, we move into doing as quick as possible. And once we move into doing, then it's Excel. So knowing for us is being open to learning, right? Then choosing what we're going to do and then making it better and better and better. That's the flow we want to have. Right now, the average agent is saying, I already know I have a listing presentation, or I don't need a listing presentation, right? I already know with Tressa, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have implied agency and I'm going to go and do my showings and I'm fine. I know. Well, here's what I know. The people saying those things, and respectfully, if this is you, I'm calling you out for a reason. The people saying these things, their results and data are saying the opposite of they know. They're saying they're struggling and they're not willing to look at it because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to learn something new. They don't want to be out of comfort, all that stuff. In high performance, we don't care about the reasons unless they give us results. Okay. So that's a shift that we need to take in our mindset. And again, the top 1% life has a lot of this at the start. If you're a leader, expanding the middle will be really good. If you're already like a brand leader, brokerage leader, team leader, the end will even be really good. But if you're looking to shift your mentality, the start, whether you're solopreneur team, it does not matter. And this is available on Audible. So before we move forward, I want you to give yourself a score out of 10 on, and be honest here. Are you solution oriented? Are you wasting time blaming, complaining, gossiping, feeling sorry for yourself, focused on the things you cannot control? Or are you disciplined to be like, yeah, I have low days, I have low moments, but I'm disciplined enough to get myself back on track. I'm aware that when I'm not solution oriented, and I use that awareness to get myself back on track. Okay. That would be like a 9, because we don't want to be a 10. There's always room for growth. So give yourself a score at a 10. And just so I'm in tune, thanks, Rachel. Can you guys share your score here? So Rachel's got an 8. So you're doing a really good job there, Rachel, on mindset. Where are we on mindset? Kim's a 9. Love that, Kim. I love that for you. Sean is an 8. Okay, good. So we got some strong mindsets happening here. And if you're going like, yeah, my mindset's kind of low right now, I would say as an industry, going out to events and talking to a lot of people are talking about a bit of a heaviness, right? That's happening in across many different brands. Some brands have more momentum because they have changes and things like that, but not all change is always good. Sometimes change is avoiding issues in our business or issues in our life. So there is a heaviness. So if you're feeling good in mindset, that's really actually phenomenal, particularly right now. Okay, the second area we want to look at to get a benchmark to increase that engine is database and CRM. Okay, so this is not a question of, do I have a database? That's a given for this one. So if you don't have a database or you're using like Excel kind of poorly, you'd be a 1 on this one. Okay, so not only do I have a database or a CRM, but I bookend my day with it. So I start my day with it, I end my day with it. And when I end my day, I also look at the next day to know what's coming. So I'm aware if I miss something. Right? I've got the time blocked for the clients I have appointments with. I've got the time blocked and I know the people I have to call. It's all organized in my CRM so that I don't have to use my brain 100% on my follow-up people. Because where do we want to use our brain energy? We want to use it for our active people, right? So our calendar is set up with the CRM. It's all syncing. So if I go on, my calendar is the same as, my team calendar, and I'm documenting things. So if I go to dial, a follow-up or a past client, I've got the notes I need right at the top of that CRM section. Because if you're doing a lot of mixed marketing, like digital marketing and COI, a lot of mixed different things, then if you're getting a 10 to 15% call to contact rate, you're actually pretty good. If you're just calling past clients, it'll be higher, guys, of course. But if it's mixed, getting 10, 12%, 15% is really, really good, which means if I can't trust my CRM or my notes, I'm doing all this research to make my first call. They don't pick up the phone. I do the same thing for the second one. They don't pick up the phone, right? You guys see where this is going. We need to be able to trust the CRM, because if only 1 out of 10 roughly, or if we're lucky, 2 out of 10 are going to pick up the phone calling new leads and calling follow-ups. I need to be able to know the instant they pick up, I can click, I've got the notes, I'm organized, and I can say something meaningful that makes sure they know I care, that I remember them, I remember something specific about them. And if they already told me, they want to move in 6 months and they're a first-time buyer, I should know that. That should be in the CRM and in a space that's really quick and easy for me to access it, whether it's notes or it's another little, I'm forgetting the name for it, but another little space you're going to use that you can see in your CRM. Okay. So really key that we have those things in place. It's actually one of the biggest habits that we instill in new realtors or recruits is to bookend their day with their CRM. It's one of the most powerful things we do because it starts the approach of we create our opportunities. So where are we at on database CRM? We have one, it's set up, we're using the tagging, we're writing our notes, we're checking it in the morning, checking it at night. We know if we missed something and we're documenting. We know our client, the last time we talked to them, was going to Thailand and super excited. So when they pick up the phone, we have it. We know we tried that follow-up 6 different times and they didn't answer. And when they did, we remember that they really wanted to move in the spring, right? You see where I'm going with this? Okay. Checking in the morning, documenting everything. Yeah, but need to bookend. Fair. Yeah, we need to because we get busy. And it's also a form of tracking for us. Like some of us who do paper trackers or your CRM tracks, it's also a way to go back and be like, oh yeah, okay, wait, how many appointments did I have today? How much of my day was face to face? How much of my day was working on the business? Oh shoot, I'm spending a lot of time in admin things. See, there's a lot that we get from going back and bookending our calendar and our activities. Okay. So we got a 7, a couple 8s on that one. Next, consultant's approach. Consultant's approach is the #1 guiding principle in everything that we do in our community from a service basis. Okay, so at Kathleen Black Summit in November, you would hear, if you were there was many very successful team leaders, and they talked about again and again the importance of being educational. Now, we've been doing this for 15 years now, and I can tell you unequivocally, those who are consultant education based outsell the salespeople. And the reason they do that is because they're working with the psychology of what is going to feel more comfortable, more valuable, and easier and better for a buyer or a seller from their perspective. And that's really important. So anytime that we're setting up a system or we're updating or we're testing it, it's always based on that psychology, right? What are we doing to give value to that client? So instead of having, manipulative trial closes or trying to be pushy with people, we actually want to give people options and educate them, but situate ourselves as professionals, which is why you're going to see with our buyer consultation, our baseline is extremely high. Once people know how to communicate to get that face-to-face appointment, it's so educational that the majority of people who are in front of it want to hire that realtor. Whereas the pushy salesperson doesn't understand because they're like, I don't want to waste this person's time. The educator knows we're taking the potential client on a journey. Same thing with a listing presentation, but a listing presentation feels more immediate of a choice, whereas a buyer presentation, the risk is a little bit further away. Usually, if you have a well-rounded marketing campaign, not everyone wants to buy tomorrow, and they shouldn't. If those are the only people in front of you, you're leaving some follow-ups too long, or you need to maybe have some other marketing sources, depending on your budget. So consultant's approach, I educate and guide others into action towards their goals, right? I'm trying to help people early on throughout the whole process. So a consultant will always have a path, right? When I hiked, oops, there we go. When I hiked Kilimanjaro, right? That wasn't the first time that Davis took a group up to 19,340 feet or whatever it is. He's done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. He's taken the oldest person who ever summited that mountain to that peak. That gave me a lot of confidence, I got to tell you. So he knows what tools need to be, equipment need to be in his pack. He knows exactly which base camps we need to sleep at. He knows that we need to go like 200 or 300 feet up and then come back down to sleep. So you hike high, you sleep low. He knows that we need to acclimatize for less oxygen, right? In Kilimanjaro, it's in Africa and Tanzania, they call it pole pole. So pole pole is like slow, slow, right? You're walking because there's not a lot of oxygen in the air you're breathing. So they know all these things. And a great consultant is the exact same. They know exactly the stops or the trigger points in our business. And those trigger points are not just for a tool or a system, they're also for our CRM, they're for our tracking, they're what allows us to leverage when we build our business enough, either using technology or marketing and other people. So they're really important. And when you set up a business from a consultant's perspective, the way you're trained, the systems you use, the training, the goal setting you do, and then the tracking you do in the year, they all match each other. So we have those benchmarks for, hey, if we have 100 leads, what percentage of them should be booking to an appointment right away? What percentage should be booking within follow-up? How many of those appointments that we book are actually going to meet us face to face? How many are going to no show, right? How many are going to cancel? Once we meet those people, how many are going to choose to hire us on the listing side, the buyer side, the investor side? And what tools do we need to have? And that's the important side, because you can track that 30/30 data, right? You can track all the data across this whole way. But if you don't have a comparison, if you don't know that, hey, the person across the hall has a listing presentation and they're getting, for example, 6% commission 60% of the time, which we've taught hundreds and hundreds of people to do, if you don't know that, then you don't even realize that, oh, wow, like my listing presentation is getting, a 50% conversion, but I'm getting like 3.5 if I'm lucky and not intentionally. Okay, just as an example. So you not only need to have, again, the willpower to do this, you need to have the tools, and then market education, showings, etc. So the consultant's approach is saying, how can I reduce risk? How can I reduce stress? How can I speak to people in a way that they feel more comfortable moving one step forward in that process, in a way that I'm actually advocating for them? I'm helping them. They feel good talking to me because I'm not trying to push them. And in fact, when you try to push people, like in this market, if you're talking to people and you try to meet them too soon, like they're 2 years out, you create stress. If you talk to people and they might be 6 months out, but you're already talking them about an offer, you're creating stress, you're creating risk because they're not there yet. But if we just nurture people with enough value to go one step forward, just to get to the next base camp or to stop for lunch, right? Then they can actually get their momentum and energy going. And that's what we want to continue to nurture, right? It's the same thing I do as a coach that you guys would do as an agent, okay? That process, sorry, is what allows you to expand your capacity, okay? So when I stopped selling full-time and I went, or doing both, and I went into coaching full-time, I had 86 active buyer representation agreements. They were not expired. I had 86 of them because I knew the benchmark that 50% of those people will buy within 12 months. A certain percentage will buy afterwards. But because I'm a consultant and I had these steps, my capacity was quadruple an average agent because I had everybody organized in my CRM. And when I talked to them, I knew what step they were at and I knew what my next bullseye was. And all I wanted to do was give enough value for them to decide, should we move forward or should we not? Should we go on pause? And then they make those decisions. So this process is what is going to give you 4 times the capacity when it comes to leads and active clients and the ability to leverage and hire people who are going to expand your business. So if you haven't documented your client process, this is a buyer example, you want to do that. So where are we at a consultant's approach? Do we have the language to educate people and guide them forward? And do we have an actual pre-done documented process? And do we know the tools for each step of the process in order to have consistent, predictable results? Where are we at out of 10 for that one? Where are we at on sales process or consultant's approach, guys? Put it up there. I'm gonna see it pop up as we move forward. Rachel's at a 7. Okay. Okay, so maybe these are all growth areas, right? So communication, I effectively communicate the value of moving one step forward to reduce stress and risk to potential clients. Now, this is the power of communication. So I told all of you who read the coaching webinar to come in, and thank you, Shauna, saying a 5. She can educate, but the tools need to be fine-tuned. That's fair. You're like, hey, I've got the energy to do it, but my engine needs a little tune-up, right? That's okay. So this is the power of communicating effectively. And you know, this time in the year in the economy, people are like, again, back to basics, back to basics. The problem is a lot of the time when the market was so high, a lot of us had the money to buy our way out of issues or problems in our business, and now they're being exposed. Nobody is born communicating to other people in a way of what's best for them. None of us. That requires training. So some people go through their real estate business and they're like, I hate scripting and I hate, you know, having to learn. I want to feel really natural with people. And that's great. But the likelihood is 99% you're not communicating in a way that allows them to understand how you can help them. And unfortunately, there are other people competing with you who know how to communicate, how to help them. Maybe they don't even know how to help them very well, right? Respectfully, and you do. You'll see it again and again where people say, oh yeah, I love those years where I didn't use scripts. And you know what? When I finally learned a communication system, that's when I tripled my business. And when you ask people, you'll hear it again and again. And I know because I've tracked the data for 15 years and longer, in fact, when I was selling. So a rookie, if they have 50 leads, will be lucky to book 2.5 appointments. Now, a certain percentage will cancel, no show them, but at least they could book 2.5 appointments. Now, if they book those 2.5 appointments and they don't have a buyer consultation, they're lucky if even one of the people work with them. Likely they won't. And half of the people who decide to hire you will purchase within 12 months. So that rookie got 50 leads and like the leads are crap. They don't work, right? Whereas somebody newly trained on our system is going to get between 4 to 6.5 of those same appointments for those same 50 leads. They're at 8 to 13%, potentially double just by starting to learn a script. The middle rate is going to have 8.5 to 10 appointments. They're 17 to 20%. Now, our top people who are typically ISAs, because that's all they do, they are 23 to 29%. We're getting 7 times better return on your marketing dollars, on your leads, simply by learning how to set up what we say to people at what stage in the process, and all based on a consultant's approach. So there's no pushy sales. That's not what it's about. It's about helping people clearly move from one step to the next without complicating it and creating undue risk and stress. Okay. So right now, when you look at this and you think of the number of leads you have, this is the reason that I can guarantee to people within 6 months, we'll have a 30% increase on their conversion from lead to appointment, because we do it 7 times higher. So if people are willing to do what they need to do and learn it, that's readily available to them. So think about your leads right now and where you're converting in ratio to what I just showed you, and give yourself a score out of 10 on communication. Where are we at? I'm going to continue to move forward because, as always, I'm too long-winded. So next, buyer consultation is our next that we want to look at to get a data-driven result. Those who are using buyer consultations are unbelievably more powerful when it comes to conversion. Again, if you are trained by us in buyer consultation, our new agents working with this tool who follow the system are an 80% met to sign ratio, 80%. So do we have a buyer consultation? And are we creating confidence by sharing your unique process? So for our clients, we have a buyer consultation. It is a PowerPoint. We just updated it. We update it every 2 years, but people often brand it to their own business, but you don't have to. Solo agents don't always. So the power of this, like Karen Jusko in 2020 started coaching with us, and obviously we know what happened in 2020, just implementing a buyer consultation. That was the main change that she did. She learned it, she implemented it in 2020. She had a 2.5 or X 250% growth in her business within the first 12 months of coaching, just from implementing this one tool. So you want to ask yourself, if you're running out and doing showings with new buyers and you don't have a way to sift and sort, you require 4 times more leads to hit your goals versus Karen. That's a really important thing to know. If you implement that buyer consultation and you still have all those leads, you are 400% more effective, right? So there's 2 ways to look at this. And with Tressa, if you're in Ontario, you're protecting your time and energy based on the people who loyally want to work with you. If you want to improve your time management, man, this is one of the best ways. Because if you haven't been burnt yet, going like, oh my gosh, I just spent the last 4 weekends out with, Sue, and Sue wanted to buy a house, and I missed my kids, taking them to that birthday party. And we all know I missed that family dinner. And then I called a week after and Sue had bought a house with someone else. We're like, okay, right? Protect your time and energy. People respond to the way you focus on your time and energy. Peter was on stage from their new clients. Actually, my partner is Jane, and Peter is on her team, Inner Circle Real Estate Group, sorry. And Peter showed up at Summit to share because he has just learned the scripting, and then he learned afterwards the buyer presentation. Why? Because he learned the communication, he learned the scripting, and he started to book appointments. And he would start to be like running to get his scripts. Like, I can't believe it. I booked another appointment. I'm like, I told you, like, it's that easy. You just need the tools. Then he got the buyer presentation. And at first he was worried to ask for the BRA. And I was like, you can't present it and not ask. You just explained all the value. Now he's like, sign another BRA, sign another BRA. He has booked more appointments and signed more BRAs in a few weeks at the time of Summit from learning this than he had in the 2 years on the team. That's a pretty impressive return just by making a change in his engine, right? In his toolbox. So give yourself a score on buyer consultation, and please don't fall into the reason trap. Is it working? Is it working? Do people want to work with you? Do they hire you? Are they loyal to you? Do they sign a buyer rep with you right then, right? Because that's the power of this tool. So give yourself a score out of 10 on that one. And please remember, if you're in digital marketing or you have a mixed marketing campaign, most people, if you're trying to prevent stress and risk, they want to talk to you about the buyer process first. They may list first, don't get me wrong, but the ease of which to become a client is exponentially better on the buyer side first. There's reasons for that, okay? So give yourself a score out of 10. Seller consultation, same thing, but it's a very different approach. I create undeniable confidence with my strategy to sell, my track record, and my superior resources. A strong listing agent is going to be in that D, maybe DC mentality if you study DISC, which means they are bottom line organizers. They're not just telling you what they do, they're telling you why they're telling you, and they're telling you why it's important, right? They're giving you the bottom line, like highest value of what they're explaining, so the homeowner actually gets it. Whereas most agents are like, when we do marketing and we do open house, and the seller's like, yeah, and everybody else said that, right? So you want to have a presentation that's going to differentiate you, that's going to show the problems in the market, that's going to show how you solve the problems in the market, and set you up to offer more value. This is a market where people are listing homes, they're paying for staging, video, photography, they're doing marketing, they're doing all the things, and less homes are selling. And then we don't necessarily have those tools to go back and be face to face with sellers, which we're working on a lot with our community. So do you have a listing presentation that's proven, that's powerful? And can you do, for example, like Kenneth Toppin did, and get to a point where 60% of his listings are signed for 6% commission? And Kenneth is one of hundreds of people who have these resources from us. Now, this was one particular year that he implemented that, and he had a 40% increase. But in the time we've been coaching Kenneth, he's gone from a new part-time agent to a 7-figure earner. So these tools implemented piece by piece are building that high performance precision engine. And that is our goal. That can take you all the way up to team or partnership or just, solo and loving life, right? So give yourself a score on listing consultation. And the next one is conversion results. So this is that tracking. Are we tracking the leads? Are we tracking the appointments? Are we tracking source of business? Do we value results over reasons? and commit to small daily improvements, which is like Kaizen? Do we embrace that accountability that all high performers do? We have to make a choice, right? If we want to go into high performance, we need accountability. Over 80% of realtors are not productive. In some boards, it's even higher than that. 6% of salespeople are achieving 80% of the sales after they hear the fifth no. On a phone call, 5 no's. In a showing, 5 no's, right? Offer prep, 5 no's. So are you able to communicate over and above those 5 pushbacks to get to the place where 80% of sales are done? Right? This is even over and above that 7 times increase on conversion. This is the benchmark metric that we use in training to make sure we can continue to communicate, not be pushy, but continue to communicate and adapt to who we're talking to. So give yourself a score out of 10 on conversion results. And if you're not tracking, you don't have an 8 there. I'm just saying, okay. So are we in that 80%? And finally, are we nurturing our database? Are we calling the people in our database, right, who've helped us and helped build our businesses, and showing people we care by taking responsibility to reach out consistently? And part of that reach out is a system, right? There's some automation you want to have in your CRM for your database 100%. You also want to have plans so that when you bookend your day, you're like, oh shoot, I was supposed to call 5 past clients today. I forgot. I need to add that on tomorrow because I don't have time to make up a week's worth of missed past client calls, right? So that awareness keeps us on track. So make sure that you got all your scores from 1 to 8. And I want you to look at your weakest score. So if you can put in chat, what's your weakest number out of 10 for all of these 8 different buckets of our business? When you're doing your 2024 planning, you want to make sure that you're investing in mentorship resources, systems, tools in your weakest link first. And then your second weakest link, your third weakest link, because that's going to bring up your business the most when you're going into next year. So priorities, we always want to hyper prioritize in high performance. And we know some of you are in a buyer's market right now. Not many are in a seller's market, but certain types of homes are, because we have limited supply in certain micro markets for sure. And some of us still feel caught, right, in that in between of the market moving, the economy moving. I can tell you that there are a lot of high producers and teams in our community that have a phenomenal amount of listings coming out in January, but they've also signed a phenomenal amount of buyers. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in January and February in the markets, because buyers are getting a little bit more confident with those rate holds for sure. So we want to make sure in our markets, in our business, are we able to have 80% of the buyers we meet face-to-face hire us? You need more signed buyers to reach your goals going into next year. And what would it be worth to you if you could sign 80% of the people you meet with? Think about that for a second. 25% or 20% versus 80%. What would that mean for your business? Because for most of us, that's a 75%, a 3x increase, right? Can we get a 6% listing commission, or even a 5%, 5.5%, 60% of the time? And do our listing services make sense? Are we making money on them considering our list to sell ratios? And can we increase and hit our goal of that 7 times greater return on marketing dollars spent to face-to-face meeting booked? So this is all about looking at what can you control? Where can you invest? Where can you improve in order to get that benefit? Because this market's testing people, and we want to change before we're forced to, right? As entrepreneurs, as business owners, as consultants or salespeople, brokers, we want to make sure we make the changes now to make our businesses better, less chaotic, and have more freedom and success. There's a lot of pitfalls that we hold. Some of our coaching team already did a webinar on the full 30-30-30. So they talked also about the ways we break our businesses, which cost us to hemorrhage and bleed money unbelievably. And part of those pitfalls we want to avoid, I've already talked about. Don't look at the symptom, look at the source. We sometimes get annoyed by problems in our business, but we don't look at the root that's actually causing them. We waste time reinventing the wheel when we know that's not what top performers do. You want to double your business next year, you do need to invest and get coaching and get support and get the right tools. Third, we're not tracking data. And fourth, we believe we have to do it alone. I mean, broker managers, owners, team leaders are notorious for this. We tell people, hey, like you need training and mentorship, and we know the power of it, but sometimes we don't give it to ourselves. And we need that support just as much. If you're a solopreneur, man, right, you need people in your corner. So the idea that real estate's a lonely business is only if we set ourselves up that way. So 3 really important questions I want to ask you. First, do I know exactly which systems I need in place to get to my goal for 2024? Do you know which systems? Do I know how to avoid costly mistakes in the implementation process that can compromise my business? And third, do I know how to scale these systems without breaking them and protect my time in the process? Okay. If you said yes to all of them, like you're set. Okay, you're good. You still, if you're that much of a learner, probably already have coaching or mentorship. But if you said no to any of them, that's where you are in a position to hemorrhage your business, because it's not just about, do I know what I need to fix? It's, do I have the solutions to fix it? And do I know how to implement them and get the results that those solutions are capable of? And those are 3 completely different what do you call it, missions or mountains to take on. Okay, so structure is going to give us that freedom that we want. And I promised 2 case studies, so I'll give you one more based on a team study. And Stacy was coming in as already a top 1% national producer, already a very successful and respected team leader. We love working with her and having her part of our community. She was suffering from a lack of systems. She had capped at 100 deals when we first worked together year over year. And she struggled with finding that elusive work-life balance. She was working 80 plus hours a week, so it would be hard to achieve that. And she was staying in that overworked top 1% nationally producing team, but doing most of the sales, 65%. So the solution with Stacy was that first pillar of vision. We did the perfect week. What does it look like? What would harmony look like if we could find it? What's the 2-year vision, the 5-year vision, the 10-year vision? We did forecasting for her personal and business life when it came to time allocation. We did a strategy to reduce her personal sales within the team and increase the sales in empowering her amazing team members. We put effective systems in place to allow that to happen, because you can just say it, but it's not that easy to do without losing business. The results in 12 months, Stacy had moved from 80 hours a week to 45 hours a week in the business. Within 18 months, they doubled to over 200 deals, which wasn't even the initial goal, and is now selling 10% of the team home sales with a profitable business and team leader salary in place. She's negotiated the sale of some of her shares in her team and has a residual income plan in place. The percentage of business owners in real estate who have this setup are like 0.001 of the top 1%. But this is what's possible for us, right? When we put systems in place. So again, ask yourself the important questions about whether you're ready to scale. Do you have the tools and do you know how to implement them? Now, if you would like our help and you'd like to work with us, we do work with 3 different levels of one-on-one bespoke customized coaching. You do have a vault with us. You do have the videos, but you're not going into a pre-done program where you have to watch the videos and figure it out on your own. Okay. You have bespoke customized coaching, either as an individual, as someone trying to expand and leverage and get some help, maybe with an unlicensed assistant or CRM build out. Or we also coach, of course, massive teams, which is what we're most known for, which is why getting results for solopreneurs is easier for us, because team growth is a lot more complicated. We have unique ways of doing this. One, coaching and strategy, you're going to get mindset support. Our coaches are all holistic, high performance. So we have coaches who are mindset whisperers. We have coaches who are budget gurus. We have other coaches who do onboarding and sales training for all the top members of, top 1% teams. They all have different genius areas based on what they're good at. You have access to them. We're going to help you push through on those hard days that everyone has. And it's data-driven strategy. We know the results. So we're going to cut out that wasted time trying to figure it out. And again, it's tailored goal setting. So we're going to track your process and adjust based on what isn't working. Want to eliminate that costly experimentation that really, costs people not just their business, but their optimism sometimes. So want to save time and money on research processes by directly accessing our comprehensive vault. You have all of our training there, how-tos, hundreds and hundreds of resources, videos, thousands of resources when you include all the documents. Protect your time, energy, and money, implementing already vetted, proven systems to support a customized strategy for you. You have community support, our entire roster of elite agents, connect with community members because you get community calls as well with us, and you get updates on high caliber events to network with industry leaders like the Kathleen Black Summit in November. And you're going to scale strategically with the right systems and guidance to scale your business, plus know when and how and which areas to focus on starting to scale instead of risky methods that really leave you in the dark, and they're scary because you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Here is some feedback from one of our clients.
We have a long-standing relationship with Kathleen Black, coaching with longtime clients, coaching with her. As my practice grew, I was me an individual agent and an administrator, where somebody kind of directed me to coaching is key. And Kathleen's name consistently came out amongst these top performers and top peers. One of the unique things I think about her coaching program is that it delivers immense value if you're the individual agent looking to start a team, or if you're a larger team. She's got systems within her coaching program that I think help scale from the individual agent to the mega team. My sales partners love Kathleen as a person, as do I. She's inspiring. Well, she'll hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do. We find her program has been useful for our team, certainly for the last decade or so.
So our summit, we're over time, so I'm not going to share my summit video right now. But here is the QR code for you to be able to book a strategy call with us right now. You can put that in. And if you know that you want us to reach out to you, you can also put it in chat. Kat is here. And in case you're having trouble with QR code using your camera after COVID, I think we all know QR. But if you're having trouble, you can put it in chat as well. And we look forward to meeting with you. We have some other free resources on Facebook. There's a Raft Builders group that gets some free webinars and information. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, definitely do that because we share content and just like valuable tips and reels and all that kind of fun stuff. You're always part of the community. We always cheer you on. If you've ever coached with us, we're cheering you on for sure. So wishing everybody happy holidays as well.